Good for you, Bernie Sanders. Good for you, Bernie Sanders, being a millionaire. You sold a best-selling book, it took off, people wanted to read what you had to say, and now you're wealthy. Congratulations. Unfortunately, I can't say the same is true. I can't say the opinions I just espoused are true for the rest of the left, because they're kind of upset that you succeeded. And what we're hearing from CNN and the activist website Think Progress should be alarming to any good American who believes in hard work. Why? CNN is upset at Bernie Sanders for saying hard work means you can be wealthy. Well, what do you want to happen? Do you want people who don't work hard to be wealthy? I certainly don't, and they exist, and I think it's a problem. What happened? Listen, you can be on the left, and you can think that we should do more to help more, like different groups with welfare programs and all that, but still recognize hard work at the end of the day is what brings you success. I don't want people starving and dying in the streets. I don't like the idea of Skid Row in California. We got to figure out how to solve that. The answer isn't necessarily just giving people money, by no means. The answer is how can we effectively help these people, teach a man, what do they say? Teach a man to fish, right? But I recognize, even though I lean left, you gotta work hard if you want to be wealthy and successful. I don't like the idea of people who just become rich or inherit these things, but that is part of the right of, like, it's one of the goals a family has. I want to make sure my kids have a better life. I gotta be honest, I don't think you're doing your kids a favor by giving them tons of money if you are wealthy. So I think it's good for kids to grow up and understand what a good hard day's work really means so they can be better equipped to survive in the future and succeed in the future. But apparently the left today is just like, how dare you be a millionaire, Bernie Sanders? You did what? You wrote a book and it was successful? Harumph, I say. Bernie Sanders' truly awful answer on his newfound millionaire status by Chris Cillizza. Was it really that awful? I know that the far left is going to go after him because regular people probably don't care. Regular people who support Bernie are probably like, oh yeah, good for him. I went to a skate park and I talked to a bunch of skateboarders about Antifa and Trump supporters. They were typically like Bernie supporters. Skateboarders are pretty chill left-leaning people, but they're not this crazy version of the regressive identitarian left. They were like, I don't know about all that, man. Check this out. Bernie Sanders is finally going to release his tax returns, but questions over how he handles his wealth in the context of his campaign for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination remain. And the early returns should be concerning to Sanders' backers. Why? In an interview with the New York Times on Tuesday, Sanders said, April 15th is coming. We wanted to release 10 years of tax returns, 15th, 2019. Will be on the 10-year, so I think you will see them. I think. Reminded by the Times reporter that he is now someone of considerable means, Sanders retorted, I wrote a best-selling book. If you write a best-selling book, you can be a millionaire too. What? What do you mean, what, Chris? He's right. He's right. Look, writing a book is extremely hard. It's one of the reasons I haven't done it. I've had people ask me to write a book, and if I wrote a book, I'd probably sell a bunch of them. It's really, really difficult to do, okay? It takes a lot of time, a lot of thought planning. I'm good at talking a lot, not really good at sitting down and typing those things out. I don't have the gift of the type. I have the gift of the gab. So Bernie Sanders, you wrote a best-selling book. Spot on. And I don't even think that conflicts with Bernie's policy positions. A lot of people drag Bernie because he got multiple houses. Like, yeah. But look, Bernie wants to tax the rich. I think his plan for going about doing it is not going to be as effective as he thinks it is. And I think Andrew Yang is way, way better at it. But additionally, we've seen Andrew Cuomo say, heaven forbid, if we tax the rich, they'll just leave. We're in a technological era where money can be transferred to cryptocurrency and protected overseas. There are a million ways to avoid paying these high taxes, and it's always been this way. Andrew Yang mentions that a VAT, a value-added tax, is the appropriate way to tax the wealthy because you tax the product level. And it's really interesting because Ben Shapiro agreed. A lot of Republicans are saying sales tax, no income tax, is more effective. Don't tax people's income, tax the sales tax, right? I'm not an expert. So, when I hear someone like Ben Shapiro and Andrew Yang talk about VAT being, better, I think Ben Shapiro's approach was that there shouldn't be an income tax. It should be VAT only. And I don't think Andrew Yang's in that position, but we can clearly see that there's an agreement on this issue at least. But why? Anyway, I digress. I was going to talk, Bernie Sanders has ideas that I think don't necessarily work. But so what if he has multiple houses? Good on him. I don't think Bernie Sanders has ever come out and said people shouldn't be allowed to have multiple houses. In fact, I think it was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who said something about there shouldn't be billionaires in this country when people are sick or something like that. And it's like, no, those are unrelated issues. So Bernie actually came out recently and said he wasn't for open borders, and the left got mad at him. Bernie Sanders in 2015 said he opposed open borders. So Bernie Sanders is not this demon that people make him out to be, and I don't know why they're dragging him for this. Let's read on. Sanders got a pass on some of his acerbicness during the 2016 presidential campaign because most people don't think he could win, and others found it part of his cantankerous but righteous personality. But let's think about let's think about that campaign for another minute. Close your eyes and imagine if Hillary Clinton, who beat Sanders for the Democratic nomination, when asked about the extent of her wealth, said, "I wrote a best-selling book. If you write a best-selling book, you can be a millionaire too." It's true. She would have been pilloried. People would have blasted Clinton for being out of touch with the average person who doesn't have the opportunity to write a book, best-selling or not. That's not true. This is the defeatist mentality we need to get rid of. You can work hard. It doesn't mean you have the talent. It doesn't mean what you're making is going to work. People try and fail every single day. Some people have the good idea, right place, right time. You combine these things with hard work. Listen, how many people you know have a good idea? I'm sure you've heard a ton of good ideas. Have they ever made money off that idea? The answer is probably no. I was sitting on a bus in Los Angeles, and I was talking about one of my ideas. And I was open and loud and boisterous with my friend. This was like 10, 12 years ago. I was like, man, I got a really good idea. Or maybe I think it was like 10 years ago. I was like, I got a really good idea for this thing. This is what we're going to build. It's going to be X, Y, and Z. And my friend went, shh, people are going to hear you. They're going to hear your idea. And I laughed, and I was like, you think the people on this bus will take the idea and build something with it? Dude, I'm not insulting the people on the bus. I'm making a point that there are good ideas all the time, and it takes hard work to bring them to fruition. Anyone can write a book. Will the book sell? I honestly don't know. Bernie did something big, and people wanted to hear what he had to say, and he became rich because of it. But now they're saying people don't have the opportunity to write a book. Victim mentality. People don't have an opportunity to write a book. I went on the ground at Occupy Wall Street with a Galaxy S1. And that was it. I was streaming mostly because I had nowhere to store footage. I went there with nothing, no place to go. I had a backpack and clothes. I don't want to say nothing, but I had a backpack and clothes and some cash hidden in the bottom of my backpack. That's a secret. I don't think most people knew that. I had cash hidden in my backpack. And that's what I did. I would sleep outside sometimes. Because it wasn't about whether or not I was going to be successful. No, it was like, I'm here to do my thing. And I'll build upon that. This is a great country. You really do have opportunity. Not everyone's going to be super wealthy. Not everyone's smart enough. Not everyone has the work ethic. I haven't had a day off in years. Okay, you really have to grind your to the bone to really push ahead. Bernie's worked very, very hard throughout his whole career, and now he's only recently become successful. And they always do this. They act like you don't have the opportunity to write a book. Tell you what, man, pen and paper down at the store, couple bucks. You can't get that? Here's my advice. Stand in the corner asking people for a couple bucks until you have the couple bucks you need to buy the pen and paper. How many people in this country have a cell phone? Most of them. You can get a cell phone for really, really cheap. I'll tell you what else you do. 20 bucks. Bluetooth keyboard, type away, and start writing. Look, even if you're working full time, even if you're working double time, you can still have the opportunity to write a book. This attitude really bothers me. They don't like that Bernie Sanders succeeded. You can claim Bernie's a hypocrite all day and night. Fine. But what I'm going to dispute is this idea that you cannot succeed in this country. And they're dragging Bernie because he wrote a book. Look at this. Think Progress. Bernie Sanders is a millionaire. That's literally the title of the article because they're clutching their pearls over the fact that it works. America works. Bernie Sanders, who spent his whole life fighting for civil rights, who you believed in, who you think is doing the right thing, he wrote a book. He's rich. Doesn't that show you something? That you can dedicate your life to a mission that all of these people support. Let's say you're on the far left. You look at Bernie. Bernie has dedicated his life to what you believe in. And now he's successful and can live well because of it. And they're mad at Bernie because of it. The 1%er hopes no one notices that he's moved up in the world. He flat out said it. Look at this. It's all very off-brand and embarrassing. They said it's embarrassing that Bernie Sanders is a millionaire. I swear to God, these are not normal people, okay? My friends who like Bernie, some of them are actually well off, and they're not crazy. I talked to a friend of mine a couple days ago. They think the wealthy aren't paying their fair share. We got into an argument about what fair share means, and ultimately what they said was not that they should be paying more, but that they don't pay what they're already supposed to be paying. It's like, oh, okay, then I can understand. So you're okay with Bernie being rich? Oh, absolutely. He's releasing his tax returns, right? He paid his taxes on the money he made. Well, that's fair. What the number should be is up for debate. I think even Steve Bannon, I think, said it should be over 50% for people who make more than like 5 or 10 million. Ocasio-Cortez floated 70% for more than 10 million. That says to me they don't get how taxes work. Plain and simple. Andrew Yang, smart guy. He said no to the minimum wage. He said it's going to cause more problems. And he also said a vet makes more sense because we're not taxing these companies properly. It's amazing that Ben Shapiro can say it sounds like, Yang, you're a bit more libertarian on a lot of these issues. Yang has actually thought these things through. Full disclosure, I donated to him. I don't want you to, like people think I'm not making this to support Yang. I'm making this actually as a kind of support for Bernie Sanders, who I liked for a long time. I'm mad that he backed Hillary. I feel like he has no spine. Let's protesters walk all over him. But I am not mad that Bernie is a millionaire. In fact, the fact that Bernie is a millionaire is a good sign for Americans. It means that when you see someone like Bernie that you truly believe has been fighting for the good fight his whole life, it means that when you do the right thing, you can succeed. You can become wealthy. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm pretty sure Bernie understands that, but these activists don't, nor does CNN, because they want to convince you you're a victim who can never succeed without the government coming in and putting that money in your hand. Granted, throw some shade Bernie's way because Bernie holds a lot of similar views, but I think it's much more nuanced than that. And whether or not Bernie's a hypocrite is besides the point. Comment below and let me know what you think he is. I'm not here to defend or support Bernie's policies necessarily. I'm here to point out that America works. I'm sick and tired of people telling me the American dream is dead. Absolutely not. I'll tell you this right now. The American dream is alive and well. Because when a high school dropout from a mixed race family on the south side of Chicago can grow up in a neighborhood riddled with gang activity and people doing drugs and find themselves successful and speaking to millions of people, 30 plus million views every month, hard work does pay off. The world isn't perfect. Not everyone succeeds, but if you try hard enough, if you have a good idea and you're willing to dedicate yourself and sacrifice, you can succeed. The American dream was never that you would take out $100,000 in loans, go to college, find a good job, and then get a white picket fence. That's not the American dream. The American dream is that you can be from a foreign country with a repressive government that beats you down and whips you in the streets, and you scrounge enough money and come to this country. You come to this country, you live in a tiny one-bedroom apartment with your 5 other family members, you open a small store, you go to work for an airline. I'll tell you a true story. When I worked for O'Hare Airlines, I'll tell you the American dream. A Filipino man that I knew worked every possible hour he was legally able to. I'll tell you about the American dream. He moved from being in poverty in the Philippines to living in his own home, working every available hour he was legally allowed to. They actually had to stop him and force a vacation. And he put all that money into his kids' education. That's the American dream. He was willing to grind himself to the bone to make sure that his children got to live in America with better health care, with television, with access to wealth in one of the wealthiest nations. That's the American dream. The American dream is that you can grow up on the south side of Chicago. And if you work hard and you do everything to the best of your abilities, you can succeed too. Not everyone will always succeed. Not everyone will become wealthy, but the American dream was never about that. The American dream was about moving up. The American dream is about how there are places in this world where if you were born in the lower class, you will always be lower class. But in America, class means nothing. I can walk up to the richest person in the world and give them the middle finger and tell them to go fuck themselves. That's part of the American dream. So when these people tell me you can't succeed, I get angry. You can tell I get angry. You can succeed. Stop telling people they can't do it. Start telling them they can. I will end with one more thing. To all of you watching this, you can succeed. You can. Absolutely. Start writing. Even go to the gym. If you find yourself stuck and you know what to do, just go for a walk. Walk as far as you can. When I moved to Seattle, I had no idea what I was doing. I lived there briefly. You know what I did? I just walked around the entire city all day and just looked and just thought and walked. Start doing something. You can write a book. Put pen to paper and write something and just start. When we launched Subverse, we've been working at it for a very, very long time, for years. And it's only now that we actually started producing daily content. And I said, when we started making the first daily videos, you know what? I know they're not going to be good. I know the audio is bad. I know that we've made some mistakes. But we're just going to put pen to paper and start because you can succeed. And now, look, 92,000 subscribers. I know. I have other channels that I've worked hard at, but I've spent years putting this together, and you can do the same thing. I believe in you. I believe in everyone in the world that if you try and you work, you can do it. Just put pen to paper. I got another video coming up for you. It's probably already up. I'll see you in a few minutes.